Welcome to the Nikki Clarke Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nikki Clarke, and I'm so excited to, have you back here for another stellar interview. We interview people from all walks of life who have amazing heart stories to share, and I am so thrilled to invite you to another amazing interview. So today we are honored to welcome Mica Louise. She is the founder of Phases Bloom, a heel-centered movement created to support women on their journey from survival to self-connection, empowerment, and wholeness. Mica's work blends somatic healing, energy work, herbal wisdom, ritual, and faith to help women reconnect with their bodies, rebuild trust within themselves, and begin healing from toxic relationships, trauma, and emotional disconnection. And her message is powerful. Your body is not broken, your story is not over, and healing is possible. So today, we will explore Mica's personal transformation, her spiritual awakening, the purpose behind Phases Bloom, and how women can begin to come home to themselves with compassion, courage, and grace. Mica Louise, welcome to the Nikki Clarke Show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I feel really honored to be here. I'm excited. I'm very excited for this. So, yeah.
Wonderful. And we're so honored to have you. So thank you so much for, being bold and joining us in this community of conversations that matter. So let's start with the first question. Mica, can you take us back to the moment when everything began to shift for you?
Yeah. It was 2021. And I was walking through my living room and I had a flashback of a night where I was in the bathtub with a gun held to my head for hours. And this situation had happened a few years before the flashback. Um, so it was so real and so powerful that I could smell the strawberry conditioner that was in my hair for those hours that I was in the bathtub in that situation. And this came from a man that loved me and was supposed to love me. So that flashback brought back a whole lot of flashbacks, a whole lot of trauma, a life full of trauma. And here I was, not really even knowing what trauma was. I was diagnosed with mental illnesses. So I was always told that I had anxiety from a young age. And then I was diagnosed with depression in my 20s. And then in my 30s, it was bipolar. And then I finally, when this happened, I got a CPTSD diagnosis. And I don't connect myself to any of those diagnoses anymore. I feel like they're in remission. I feel like trauma was my problem. And whenever I started healing, I stopped having bipolar episodes and feeling crazy, and feeling depressed. I don't have depressive episodes anymore at all. Now, if I have that bad times, and I just allow myself to have that. But I was so disconnected from myself, disconnected from God. But I didn't know that I was at the time. I was raised in a Baptist and in a structured religion type. So I'd never really felt God or heard God in my own sense before, in my own way before, but God met me there in that darkness. And so what I used to call a mental breakdown, I now know was more of a spiritual awakening. So that right there led me to knowing that my life was trauma, and I started having bad PTSD symptoms, and I started looking at ways to heal. I had been on medication for years. I'd self-medicated for years with meth and alcohol. So I started looking for other ways to heal, and that led me to holistic healing, and then here I am now.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
hmm
So you describe your spiritual awakening from a breakdown to a spiritual awakening. And you shared a little bit about what that was, what that entailed. But can you expand a little bit more about what that experience taught you about yourself?
Yeah, I really feel like my breakdown became the doorway to my healing. What it taught me about myself is that I had been living in survival mode for my entire life. I didn't know myself. I had lost myself so many times to men. I'd been in 4 abusive relationships. The last one just was really toxic and narcissistic. So it was elevated a little. I was no stranger to abuse, to an abusive relationship. It just was a lot darker. So there was a lot of crying and isolation and loneliness. I spent a lot of time alone trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted. And I did a lot of shadow work and faced my own demons, faced myself for not loving myself and putting myself through those situations that I put myself through. You know, I tell people all the time, I'm not just healing from men or family or, other traumas, I'm healing from myself just as much.
Hmm,
So,
thank you. I I want to talk about what you said about survival mode. Being in survival mode without realizing it. Some of us, many of us, including myself, just wake up and you're on autopilot. you know? What are the signs that you should pay attention to when you're in this mode?
survival mode can look very high functioning, very high functioning. So a lot of times when you overwork yourself, when you can't be still and sit with yourself, people pleasing, over giving, going out of your way to do so much for so many, but not yourself.
Hmm.
Some other things are addiction, where you can't rest, exhaustion. Um, a lot of people say laziness, but laziness can very much be a trauma response. You're just tired. You've been holding all this survival energy for all these years. When I first started coming out of survival mode, I've never been a napper. And, I started having to have those times. I don't nap now. Now I rise with the sun and go to bed. That's just how I've grown to love to live. Is that I sleep really well at night now, but I used to not. So there's a lot of different ways you can tell, but those are some of them. Always also overthinking and numbness, when you numb yourself out of your feelings or overthink all the time.
Hmm. I would also think feeling guilty about just having fun, enjoying the
Yes.
pleasures of life. Yeah, you stop and go, wait, how long is this going to last?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people feel guilty for living life and for healing. I find a lot of guilt in my healing, and putting up boundaries. Healing generational trauma is not easy. And, like my mother, for instance, didn't understand a lot in the beginning. I think she's grown in that. And I even hear her say things sometimes now, like, that she's trying to love herself and things like that. So I'm literally like healing generational trauma because my mother's 70. I have a daughter that's 27 that's lived through trauma that I helped put her through. And she's not in a great place right now. And so my granddaughter's 5 and I take care of her right now. So I'm in the depths of healing the generational trauma, and I've had to change my mind frame around it. I didn't have to come back to my hometown and do this, but I get to do this
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
the feminine line of my family.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Yeah, you're the curse breaker. Absolutely in
Yes,
the
yes.
family. Yeah. Yes. So what was the hardest part of reconnecting with your body after years of disconnection?
I lived so disconnected that whenever I started my somatic training, um, I was like, this is the way I'm going to help women. And I started my somatic training, and my teacher said, she was walking us through this body scan, and I couldn't feel anything in my body. She said, where do you feel it in your body? What does it feel like in your body? And I was so disconnected that I couldn't feel anything. So, what I had to do was start pretending that I felt it there. And eventually my body sensations came back online. So when you're disconnected from your body, it looks like survival. It looks like going all the time, hypervigilant, being disconnected from your body.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever your emotions get too big or something bad happens in your life, you just tend to disconnect more and more.
Mm. Yeah, that feeling of numbness, it becomes
Mm,
a little bit too familiar. You set
yes.
your tone to numb, and when you're
Yes.
feeling. So I understand that. So how can women begin to feel safe within themselves again?
Oh, that's such a beautiful journey. And it happens in just little moments. It's just little moments. First and foremost, I would advise anyone to start building a relationship with yourself and your nervous system. Your nervous system and your body holds everything that you've been through, everything. I like it's your body is like the computer and your nervous system is the hard drive. And so it holds all that and then it, spazzes out or goes into depression. It can't hold so much. So I would advise anyone to really start building that relationship. Small things like placing your hand on your chest and placing your hand on your stomach. This feels like a hug to your nervous system. So just
Mm-hmm.
very small things. Your breath is a bridge to connect your mind, body, and spirit and slow you down. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a big one as well.
Awesome.
Moments of gratitude bring safety, but just being in your body more and find you a safe place in your mind. Get your safe place in your mind, write it down, like wherever makes you feel really safe, and then just start sitting with that place and dropping that feelings down into your body.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Awesome.
really starts to create that capacity for safety within your body.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You often say your body's not broken. And what does that mean for someone who feels overwhelmed, numb, or stuck?
That means that your body has been protecting you, that anxiety and freeze and fawn and all these survival energies are just your body has been protecting you because it's done its job, it's done what it thinks it needs to do. Our nervous system is just the same as a wild animal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whenever a wild animal gets attacked in the wild, afterwards it runs and it shakes and it, rolls around in the dirt and does all these things. And so the next time it gets attacked, it doesn't remember that. It's not living in the body where we suppress and we put it down, we bottle it down, and then that's where everything comes from living in our body. But your body is only doing its job. Your nervous system is only doing its job. Whenever our nervous system feels a threat, it doesn't know if it's a little bitty threat or a tiger coming after us. Our nervous system just does its job. So it's
Mm-hmm.
your body's just been protecting you all along, and coming back into your body will help you realize that nothing's wrong with you. You're a beautiful soul just as you are. You just have to remember who you are, underneath all the trauma and all the trauma doesn't necessarily have to always be a big, big thing that happens. Words that are said to us in childhood stick with us for years and years until we go back and fix that root problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. And I would like to share too.
Yes.
Just as you're explaining how the body is continually processing itself, so beautiful to be aware of how it's healing. And when I ran for public office, 2018, uh,
Okay.
for just shy of a year. And my days were very, very extreme, getting up early, going to bed, pounding the pavement, canvassing, dealing with the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I remember election night sitting in my car and I was terrified of, what the outcome was. And I was getting texts from members of my team saying, "Oh, you won this poll, you cleared this poll." And I
Mhm.
just felt my heart just like beating out of my chest. And I should preface this by saying, um, 2 months into the campaign, my little brother died of cancer. So I
Mhm.
was dealing with grief, and I was running a full show, carrying the responsibility of this campaign and all the expectations of, the constituents. And then I'm sitting in that car and I'm getting all this news. And then I hear the numbers come out, and I'm 2,000 votes shy of winning. And my body went into, I remember just shaking and crying
Mhm.
uncontrollably. Just everything that was, and I didn't allow myself to grieve during that whole time. I just smiled and kept moving. Everything came to the surface, whether I wanted to slow it down, stop it, I couldn't, you know.
Mhm.
That was my body going, okay, let's let it out now.
Yeah.
So when people say, and I love what you're sharing, just another confirmation when people say, you know what, I've been grieving for so long. When is it going to end? I'm like, it's going to end when it's going to end. Like, there's no date on that. And just let yourself go through this process. For me, it was like going in a corner in the middle of the day and just crying and coming back and being, so it's really amazing. You can't hide from your body no matter what you do.
You cannot. You cannot. That was me at 40. Everything at 40 years old, everything just come flooding out because I never took the space to it had my body had enough. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Phases Bloom. What inspired you to create it?
Well, my calling from God in the middle of all my darkness, it was like I felt a voice that said you have to heal yourself and help heal other women of the world
Mm-hmm.
from these same things. So that's what I started doing, and that's what I've been focused on ever since. And this has been May of 2021, so 5 years now. And Phases Bloom comes from feminine energy, from we are very seasonal as women. We heal in phases, just kind of like the moon does. And so that's where it came from.
And I understand what Phases Bloom represents, so that's beautiful. But how do somatic healing, energy work, herbal wisdom, ritual, and faith all come together in your work?
It all comes together through pretty much no matter what I do. Like, I'm having a healing circle tonight for women, and we
Mhm.
will hold space. We will say a prayer. You know, we will do a little bit of energy work. And in my sessions, it comes together through, I do both. I hold space for somatics for us to go deep into the body, and also for a lot of cleansing of energy and aligning chakras, because our energy body is so real as well. Um, so, and then the herbal wisdom, there's so many. I fell in love with plant medicine and herbs, and I started making my own skincare line last year because, and where it came from was slowing down with my body and being intentional and thanking my body and with my skincare. And then I went on this kick and started realizing that all of our skincare and makeup has toxic products, toxic ingredients in the US. It's really, really bad. So I started making my own skincare to nurture myself in and do those things. And so I also do some nervous system support, like tinctures and things like that as well. Just all kind of intertwines. And I love to say ritual instead of routine. It's the same thing, but ritual just feels more feminine. It feels like something we can keep ourselves doing every day, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear the intentionality in ritual.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So Mica, what does it look like when a woman begins to reclaim her voice and power?
Hmm. She starts being able to make boundaries. She starts being able to create boundaries. It looks like her embodying more of her true self. It looks like her not doing everything in life to please everyone else. It looks like her starting to love herself on a really deep level. I think at the core, it doesn't matter. It does matter. Talk therapy is great for talking. Somatic therapy is great for body work, and of course, energy work is great for your energy and your chakras. So it does matter, but at the same time, I feel like at the core, your relationship with yourself and building that relationship with yourself and your nervous system is the most important thing you can do. Learning your triggers and sitting with them and, you know, realizing why you're triggered. I had been in therapy for years, and I had been alone for a couple few years and really doing my shadow work, and I was into the holistic healing, but I hadn't found somatics yet. And I was about a year into my first healthy relationship ever in my life. And he's such a good man. And him and his child's mom have a great relationship. And I liked that because I always had to deal with, baby mama or baby daddy drama in my past relationships. But yet, when I would go to his house and he would leave to go get his son and I wouldn't go with him, I would get mad. My body would react, and I didn't want to. In my mind, I didn't want to get mad, but because so many men had cheated on me and done, wrong things to me, my that was all still living in my body. So I would be ugly kind of towards him, not even meaning to, just be my body. My nervous system was reacting. So I couldn't figure that out for a couple of times, and it was kind of hard. But at the same time, I was learning about somatics and the nervous system, and that's when a light really came on for me. That okay, well, I'm being triggered. This is exactly what a trigger is, and so I went in my body, and then with somatics, you learn how to just release all the energy around whatever that is, and then the next time it's okay. You can breathe around it. You don't get so upset.
Mm. What advice, Micah, would you give to someone who's afraid to start healing because it just feels too painful?
Mm. I see you. I see you so much, and it's not easy. Like, I won't sit here and lie and act like it's all butterflies and rainbows, but it's so beautiful. It's so
Mm.
beautiful learning yourself and coming into yourself and like being able to truly love the person that you are. Um, a lot of people that start their healing journey deal with a lot of shame and guilt. And so I just want to say to anybody out there that is dealing with that shame and guilt that we have to learn to let it go.
Yeah.
I see you. My daughter is dealing with a lot of not good things right now and it's not just because of the life that I lived. I'm not going to sit here and take all the blame, but some of it is because of the life that I lived. And that's a hard pill to swallow, but we have to move past it. So we can't live in it because if I'm living in it, I can't be out here helping her and doing the things that I need to do. We can't live in that shame and guilt. We make mistakes in life, and once we start knowing better, we start doing better.
Yes. Yes, that's so true. And I recognize that a lot of it is rooted in forgiveness, forgiving your past and forgiving yourself in order to move forward. And, I've shared with someone who went through something, I guess conventionally you would consider unforgivable, but it's
Hmm.
less about the one who caused the harm and more about, just releasing.
Very
So yeah.
much so, very much so. Even my really bad abusive relationship, I have found so much forgiveness for him, not for him, but for myself. There's Like there's never a way I'll talk or to anything like that, but there's just that forgiveness within myself, because if not, you carry all the anger and it lives in your body, you know?
Yeah, and it's a ripple effect.
Yes, and it definitely is. That relationship with yourself, that's why I say it's so important, because that's a ripple effect too to how you treat everyone around you.
Yeah, how you show up
Yes,
in
for sure.
the interactions with others, absolutely. So our final question today, what legacy do you hope to leave through Phases Bloom and your healing work?
I hope to leave a legacy for my daughters and my granddaughter. And for females everywhere, for women everywhere, I hope to leave a legacy of teaching women to come into their body all over the world if that's what it takes, just really healing healing women as much as I can, or put out there into the space. It's just such a passion for me. Just talking about it right here, my heart space is just, it just expands. So that's just, I was for 40 years, well, I was a child for some of those years, but you know what I mean. I was an addict. I was a lady who was in abusive relationships. I was a mother who didn't always put her children first, and I want to leave a legacy of someone completely different. So that's what I'm out here doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if I may say, I see that reflected in the relationship with your,
Yes.
grandchild, your daughter.
Hmm.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, I thank you so much for, your brilliance, your wisdom, and incredible honesty with your journey. I know that it's really going to bless so many people who watch this interview, but I am also certain that people want to stay connected with you. So, how can they do that?
You can find me on Facebook at Mica Louise. And then I have Phases Bloom is also on Facebook. It's a group only for women, about healing. And I do a lot of lives in there. And I also have a website at www.phasesbloom.com. So,
Fantastic.
yes. And thank you for having me so much. I've truly enjoyed this.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much, and for your time. You have been watching the Nikki Clarke Show with the amazing Mica Louise, the founder of Phases Bloom. Please reach out to her on social media, follow the great work that she's doing, and stay healed, stay healthy, stay transformed. We'll see you next time. God bless. Bye for now.